All right, let me know when we are good.
We should be good.
All right. Welcome back to the Paisan Sports podcast presented by Elevation 5280 Sports. Dante DePlacido joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I've got to ask, what's the deal with Jerry Jones? You want to pay Micah? Micah requests a trade. He ships him off. He sends him to Green Bay. And what's the deal with that return? 2 first-round picks and a washed-up Kenny Clark. What are you doing? And while we're on the topic, what's the deal with Dallas GMs in general? What's going on with Nico Harrison? He traded Luka. They're trading everyone. Everyone get out. Leave Dallas. We don't need you. And then Jerry Jones gives a big contract to Duran Bland. You're going to give that to Micah. What are you doing?
I didn't give that contract to the defensive tackle that nobody's heard of.
Wait. Before we
and that was you also came out of retirement. That was your first Seinfeld impression.
Before we advance any further, okay, you said you wanted the voice back. I just gave an all-out performance. I deserve some goddamn props for that before we talk.
You know why I'm upset right now? Because I'm staring at your hair. Why am I staring at your hair right now?
We'll get into that later.
Okay. As long as you're gonna have some accountability for yourself. But yeah, speaking of accountability, those Dallas GMs have the Dallas Stars are actually a pretty good NHL team. I know neither of us know anything about how.
I have no idea. You could point a gun at my head and tell me a name of Dallas.
They're usually good. I don't know if they did anything drastic in the offseason, but they're usually actually one of like the last 8 teams or 4 teams playing in the NHL in the playoffs. But yeah, it's been a rough year to be a Dallas Traditionals fan. How many Dallas Traditional fans are there though? Because you're usually a Cowboys and a Lakers fan anyway. So
I'll show you how many.
What is going on here? You're muted as well, so no one can hear you at the current moment. You're muted. I don't know why Dante is continue to be muted. If he can hear me right now, I'll send him a text real quick.
I got muted again. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you kept unmuting yourself and muting yourself again.
No, I wasn't even hitting the button. Anyway, what I was saying was I was trying to point the camera at my neighbor's front lawn. There was a car blocking it, so you couldn't see. But on his lawn, he has a Mavericks flag, a Stars flag, and a Cowboys flag. So he's like the only true Dallas fan I've ever encountered.
I went to a store today, and I was talking to the dude at the front door, and I was like, "What's up, man?" And we were just like casually chopping it up real quick, and I said, "Yeah, it's football season. Like, everybody's happy." And he's like, "Not me." And I smiled at him. I was like, "I already know where this is going." And he goes, "I'm a Cowboys fan," and I was like, "Oh man, bless your heart, bless your heart."
Wait, how old was he?
The first thing I asked him, I said, he was an older dude, so I kind of assumed that he's been a Cowboys fan for quite some time. I asked him, did you actually think about not being a Cowboys fan with how drastic of a move that was? That's not like getting rid of, losing DeMarcus Lawrence in the offseason to the Seahawks. Like, that's, trading one of the best.
Yeah, that's a generational talent. That's by far the best player on their team. That's a guy who –
That's to the level of like Justin Jefferson leaving the Minnesota Vikings right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But because the thing is, when Michael Parsons isn't on the field for the Cowboys, they lose. When he is, they win. I mean, you look at last season, right? When Dak Prescott was healthy, but Micah Parsons wasn't. They were losing games left and right. Then Dak gets hurt. Cooper Rush has to come in, but Micah Parsons comes back, and they started winning games again. So even with they're a better team with their backup quarterback, but with Micah than with their starting quarterback and no Micah. That's how good he is. And they just lost him for.
Oh, I caught you right there, Dante. I got you right where I want you right now. And that's where we're going to make our transition, and we're going to talk about some fantasy football, because you were trying to sell me on how you drafted Dak Prescott as your quarterback, and you just caught yourself in a lie right there.
No, that's not a lie. I'm talking about fantasy football. I think Dak this upcoming season is going to have to air it out a ton. He doesn't have a defense. He doesn't have much of a run game. He's going to have to throw it a lot. And that's the criteria I look for when drafting my quarterback. Whoever is going to have to throw it a lot, I want as my quarterback. I don't want a great quarterback on a great team that's barely going to play in the fourth quarter and control the clock with the run game. I don't want that. I want a quarterback who's going to have to throw it 50 times a game. And I think that's what Dak is going to have to do. I stand by it.
All right, well, I think he turns the ball over a little bit too much.
It's fantasy. Who cares? He's not what I would want in a franchise quarterback if I was starting an NFL team, a guy who can't get it done in the postseason. But for fantasy football, bring him on over. And plus, I got him for how late I got him in the draft. I think
Well, the thing about Dak too. The thing about Dak was, like, early in his career, even if you were hating on him as an Eagles fan, you would still draft him because he used to add the rushing value, but like he doesn't do that anymore since he broke his leg.
No, yeah, he doesn't really. He does
since he got that in since the injury that took him out for the season, that crazy broken leg. He that just isn't a part of his game really anymore. He just doesn't.
He kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson. How in the beginning of Russell Wilson's career, remember how much the Seahawks used to run the read option with Russell Wilson? It was a huge part of their
I think Dak is literally Donovan 2.0, bro. Honestly, I love Donovan, but I think Dak is like almost like a clone of Donovan.
No, you gotta give Donovan more credit than that, man.
Donovan's better than Dak, but like that's how Dak
plays. Definitely.
Like, well, same body type. They both are.
No, McNabb was built like a linebacker. He was larger than Dak.
Dak is 6'3", 240.
Bro, look at a photo of Donovan McNabb.
Bro, you're also sleeping on how they used to wear the 25-pound shoulder pads.
Listen, that's a bit of a factor, but McNabb was also shorter than Dak, and he probably even weighed more.
Yeah, no, McNabb's 6'1", 240, and Dak is 6'3", I'm pretty sure 6'2", 240. So it's pretty close, but I'm not, it was funny because when Carson was the quarterback, I used to say Tony Romo and Carson were similar because they both always get hurt and they are good scrambling. They're more athletic than people give them credit for, and they make like crazy plays on the run. And Donovan was Dak.
Listen, Wentz was definitely more athletic than Romo. I'll tell you one thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure, but it was similar.
If it was Wentz who picked up that fumbled snap on the PAT attempt or the field goal attempt and tried to run in, Wentz would have made it into that end zone.
There's also other plays, but one of the plays, one of my favorite plays of the childhood I just saw circulating on Instagram was from the Cowboys game on Monday Night Football, where McNabb literally had that 25-second scramble and then he throws it to Freddie down the field. That's one.
That was the longest. That had the record. I don't know if it still has the record, but at least for many years.
Yeah, but that doesn't top my favorite. If we're talking
longest time from snap to throw in NFL.
All right, we'll get into fantasy football. We got sidetracked, but it's a good topic anyway. So real quickly, we just brought up a couple. Let's name our three favorite Eagles-Cowboys moments since it's Eagles-Cowboys opening week. So I had that play, but I was just about to say the McNabb play. That's one of them for me. The other one that I'll never forget, which is one of my favorites, arguably my favorite Eagles-Cowboys play ever, is the Deshaun Jackson 87-yarder where he stops and falls into the back of the end zone backwards, and then he has a messed up ankle from running that way. But remember, he catches that ball over the middle of the field and just goes 87 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, and then falls backward into the end zone.
Yeah, with the
Um,
celebration, that's one of my favorites too.
I would say if I had to give my top three, and this is in no order, I'm just thinking of them as I think of them. Definitely the Brandon Boykin interception in the final week of the season that sent the Eagles
Oh
into
yeah,
the playoffs
no,
and
that was
knocked
a
the
classic.
Cowboys out of the playoffs. Definitely that one. Definitely the Jordan Matthews walk-off touchdown in overtime. Sammy Sleeves throwing him the ball.
That just gave me PTSD though from the um, what's his name, Rasul Douglas tip to who was it? Was it CD or was it Amari? No, it was Amari, right? Where he tips it to at the end of the game and they score the touchdown to win in Dallas.
Yeah. Why would
After he
why
was
would you
back.
bring that up? Why would you bring that up?
You know, it's another classic
Um,
honorable mention play. Josh Sweat picks off Dak, I think 2 or 3 years ago on Christmas Eve, and takes it to
It
the
was the
crib.
2022 season.
Yeah,
Minshew was playing that game.
yeah, takes it to the crib. That was a great. That was one of my
Yeah, we
favorite.
ended up
Went up
losing
ten
that game,
nothing in
but
the first quarter, and they ended up losing. But
yeah, Minshew just couldn't get it done. But yeah, and then outside of that, I would say the who returned the fumble that Brian Dawkins stripped it out, and then was it Chris Clemens who picked it up and ran it the other way in '08 when we beat him like 44-6.
I thought that was a pick, wasn't? I thought it was the pick by Huselio Hansen.
No, I'm talking about the fumble. I think it was Chris
Yeah, I remember
Clemens.
that. Yeah. I was gonna
I think it
say
was Chris
probably
Clemens.
my last. It's a moment in total, but my last one off the top of my head is when Shady wrapped up the rushing title and we beat them in week 18 to win, or week 17 at that point in time because it was 16 game slate. We beat them week 17 when they started Kyle Orton, but he threw a pick on the last drive and we won the division. And Shady wrapped up the rushing title. So that was one of
Yeah.
my
So
favorite.
yeah, that's two different plays from the same game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, fantasy football. Let's pull up our rosters real quick and see what we're working with. You got your phone next to you?
Yeah, let me pull it out.
Okay.
And then we have another draft. We're in two different leagues together this year. We have another draft Tuesday night.
Yeah. Well, that's a 10-man, right?
I don't know. I would have to check. And then somebody dropped out today. This is listen. This is the first year my buddy Sam's doing this league, so I hope it goes well. But we're off to a horrible start. People have left and joined
I'm actually
left
going to
and
make my
right.
first I'm going to make my first live decision here. So if anybody's watching this right now, um who should I pick up out of free agency? Because you know what I do every year, Dante? One of my tactics for fantasy football, I draft a
Hmm.
high-level player that's hurt going into the season and use him on my IR spot to open up another spot for somebody that might give me some play.
Ah,
So you know who I
that's a
use,
good idea. I didn't think of that.
especially in these leagues too, because that like fills the gap of like you can get like a starting level player late and actually use them. So you know who I did that with?
Uh, Joe Mixon.
No, Brandon Ayuk. Nice
Ooh,
little wide.
actually, Joe Mixon might not even play this season.
Yeah,
If you
that's
know
what
what
I'm
I
saying. He
mean.
might not play, but I actually that you actually made me think of him because I was going to be
I
like,
will tell you. Speaking of Joe Mixon, looking at the Texans running back room, it's Joe Mixon, it's Nick Chubb, it's Damian Pierce. Joe Mixon's obviously hurt. Nick Chubb, who knows what's going on with him. So I drafted pretty late in the draft. Actually, this was the last position player I drafted. I took Damian Pierce because that could end
there's
up,
some potential. I think Nick Chubb's going to get
yeah.
it off the rip, but he's getting older, and we don't know if he's washed or not because he's had some massive knee injuries. But he is a high level player. So if he can get back to form, then he's going to be a good player. But Damian Pierce isn't a bad player. He's like, what, 25 years old now? He was the starter before Joe Mixon got there, lost it a little bit, but I think he's still their kick returner, too. So maybe get some points there if he returns
Hmm.
some kicks. But
Yeah.
all right, let's go through round one. Where you were upset with where you landed with round one, like pick wise, number 9.
But yeah,
You
how do you look at the how do you draft recap? There it is. Okay.
Yeah, so round one, go through what you were thinking. You had pick 9. You were a little salty about that, texting me pregame. or
No,
pre
I'd pick
draft.
11, dog. I'd pick
Oh,
11.
11, yeah, that's even
And
salty.
and what I was salty about was Justin Jefferson was falling, dude. I couldn't believe it. And then number 8, he gets auto drafted. Maybe he could have fell to 11 had that
Yeah,
not
don't you
happened.
hate that? Don't you hate that when people auto draft? Because I had somebody that was like, "Damn, he's gonna fall to me," and then I saw 3 people on auto draft, and I was like, "Yeah, he's not gonna get to me just because of the computer system," and that's just
Yeah.
bullshit to me.
No,
But
I think auto draft. Listen, if you join a fantasy league and you end up auto drafting, you're a terrible person.
yeah,
You
for sure.
deserve the
All right,
worst
let
of
me
it.
ask you this before you reveal who you picked. Or do you go in with the mindset, I need a running back, I need a wide receiver in the first round, or it's BPA, best player available?
So in the first round, it's different from the rest of the draft. In the rest of the draft, I do kind of strategize what position I want to take in which round. But for the very first round, I ideally want a running back. However, I will take best available if I have to. And in my opinion, the best available at pick number 11 was a guy who, when he stays healthy, he's good for 1,400 plus yards, 10 plus touchdowns. I think that this offense is going to air it out more this season, especially considering the workload to the running back last year. Um, I took AJ Brown, pick number 11, and I feel really good about that pick actually.
I'm looking at his ADP right now, just online. I think his ADP is somewhere in the vicinity of where you ranked him. I would think off the top of my head, it's probably like 14, so a little bit higher than the average. But you are an Eagles fan, but yeah,
No,
AJ.
but that's the thing too is
No, I was going to give you credit for it though, but that regardless of
well,
that,
I'm less likely to take Eagles players typically because I don't want to draft an Eagles player and then he ends up like missing time or having a bad year and then not only is he playing like crap on my team but also playing like crap for the Eagles. It's just a double gut punch.
yeah.
So I would rather pass on an Eagle and have him go off, not on my team, and get to enjoy him having an incredible Eagle season. So I actually texted you last night. Other than Will Shipley last year in the final round, this is the first time I've ever taken an Eagle. But I just felt like it was the right guy to take in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. Like, it's a 14-person league, too, so it's not like it was a 10-man. You drafted him in the first round, so it's not the worst. Just to wrap that in, you also did draft another Eagle, Will Shipley. What round was that? That was like somewhere in the teens, right? Like 13.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm just gonna keep doing that every year.
Yeah.
I kind of like the bit of
I
it.
mean, he was going off in the playoffs a little bit. So when they were like blowing teams out and he could get in late in the game, he had that crazy run in the NFC Championship. So um,
And
also,
not only that, I'll give two reasons why I took Will Shipley, not just for the bit this time. Number one, my strategy last year was like, oh, if Saquon gets hurt, I think Will Shipley will be the every down back. And you and other people were like, no, probably not. But now, I mean, that's for certain, right? If anything happens to Saquon, Will Shipley gets the workload. But also, like I mentioned about Saquon's workload last year, I think they used Shipley quite a bit this season. So
well, he's
I
also.
think
What did I say
we'll
about
see some
Damian
action
Pierce?
either way.
What did I
Was
say
that?
about? What did I say about Damian Pierce? He's also the kick. I'm not exactly sure if Damian Pierce is still the kick returner for the Texans. I know a couple of seasons ago they did use him in that role, and a lot of teams like to use their backup running back. But Will Shipley was one of the kick returners for the Eagles last year too.
Yeah, so he could get some points that
Also,
way.
just to mention real quickly, we are talking about fantasy. We'll talk about the Eagles in a little bit. But speaking of the return game, did you see who they brought back to the building? Not to the active roster, but to the vicinity of the Eagles, the facility, I should say.
No.
Britton Covey.
Oh
Signed to
yeah,
the
I did see that.
squad,
Yeah.
back to the Eagles.
Covey's back.
They also brought some other familiar faces back real quickly. Marcus Epps from the Super Bowl team in 2022.
Yeah.
I look at it as a depth signing for
Yeah,
sure.
but even as a death signing, yeah.
Kind of like makes me feel the same way as like how Avonte Maddox was like on the team last year. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Maddox ended up making a great play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So it could help out.
yeah.
But tying into the Eagles fantasy football, you drafted one of their receivers, and I ended up getting one, but in the 5th round. I know you like that pick for me. Just be honest. Getting Smitty at pick I got Smitty at pick 60 overall.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I was
Fifth round. That's
thinking
my
about
flex.
taking him,
That's
but I
my
already had AJ Brown, so it wouldn't
That's
make
my
any
flex
sense.
too. Usually I try to go with a running back in the flex because I just like try to get the most value of like receiving and rushing. But having a really good receiver like that as your flex, I
Yeah,
feel
no, that as your Smitty as your flex, that's pretty good. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
especially in a 14 man. I was like,
Who did
holy
I take
shit.
in that round? I took a guy who I think this is a boom or bust pick for me. Pick 67. I took Tyrone Tracy Jr.
Yeah, that's pretty much the realm of like, yeah, I was in like the same tier. Like you get to that 6th round to like 8th round, that's like the type of guys that start popping
I
up on the
could have
board.
took
But
Jalen Waddle, but I wanted to get a third. I want to make sure I got a third
yeah,
starting
Waddle
running
was
back
there
for
when
my
Smitty was
roster.
there for me, but I took Tyreek in the 3rd round, so I just didn't want to do that. But I felt good about getting Tyreek 32nd overall, even if he's not the same 1,700 yards for 2 straight seasons, 35 over 2 seasons, like he was a couple seasons ago for the Dolphins. I still feel like it's Tyreek Hill. He can get like 8 receiving touchdowns and 1,100 yards, and I'd feel good about it being my as one of my starting wide receivers. Who I went with in the 1st round, Bijan Robinson. And actually, I drafted Bijan. I had the 4th overall pick.
Oh, you
So
were
I
able
think,
to get Bijan. I didn't even know. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
pick.
he rushed
I
for like,
would have. That's the ideal guy I would
I
have
think he
wanted
rushed
to
for like
take.
1,400 to like 1,500 yards last
Yeah,
year, and he really turned it on. But
he's
there
gonna
was
pop
another
off this
league
year.
last year where I thought he had the potential to be the #1 overall player. So I took him because Saquon was already off the board in that league, and I took him 3rd overall, and I ended up trading him because I
Huh.
didn't like the beginning of the season, and then he ended up going off after I traded him. So I learned my lesson. I went back to the Bijan farm this year. But having the 4th pick in the 14-man round, that means I didn't get circled back to the 2nd round until pick 25. But I was that guy, Dante, and I think you know where I'm going with this. I started
You went
back well.
quarterback in the 2nd round.
Dude, Lamar, are we like sleeping on how like Lamar had the best quarterback season of all time last year? He ran for like 700 yards and threw 41 touchdowns and had 4 picks. That is
I
like the
wouldn't
best
take him
quarterback
in the
season.
2nd round. I wouldn't take him in the 2nd round.
So you don't feel good with me walking away in the first 5 rounds because I'm about to reveal my 4th round pick. I walked away with Bijan, Lamar, Tyreek, and then your boy Travis Hunter, who's a wild card. This dude could be
That's
a
the thing. You got a wild card there. You got Tyreek Hill, who he's a bit of a question mark himself.
I mean, dude, even if Tyreek's a
I
question mark,
really like Bijan. I like B, and I did. I also wanted to take Travis Hunter. To be fair, um, so I was kind of upset you took him before I
the
got a
thing about
chance.
Travis is I'm not. That's why I also talked about how I went into the IR farm and I got Brandon Ayuk as insurance for when he comes back because he'll be the #1 receiver making $32 million for San Fran to catch balls. You know what I mean? So I got him just in case because Travis is a wild card. I don't see him as a consistent receiver every single week, but I just think the ceilings of he can get to, like he can have those games where he catches the ball 5 times for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like he can have those type of games. So it just really depends on how the split between how much offense and defense he plays. But I felt really good walking away with that. But the thing I didn't feel good about was walking away from the first 5 rounds with no RB2. I kind of felt a little bit salty about that. And then in the 6th, um, honestly, I'll be completely honest. I had a moment of lapse in concentration. I was watching college football. I was a little bit tired, and I got auto drafted in the 6th round, but I caught it right after that. So I only got auto drafted 1 pick, and it was Jalen Warren. And it was so funny because I was talking to my friend earlier in the day on FaceTime, and he was in the round and he was asking me if he should take Jalen Warren or some other running backs. And he named 5 guys. And I said, Jalen Warren's my least favorite player that you mentioned of those 5 guys. And then I get auto drafted. The one auto draft pick that I will have in all of my fantasy football teams this year is going to be the guy that I was talking shit on. So that's just how it falls. But Dante, do you always also, how I said, I always want to use the IR spot. I always usually try to go with running back in the 1st round, and I accomplished that. But I was willing to take a wide receiver and be open to that, depending how the board fell. I usually take a quarterback early. I usually take a tight end early, but I didn't do that. But I did get Njoku in the 7th round. My boy Joe obviously loves the tight ends, and last time Joe had Njoku as his tight end, he was slinging the rock to him, and Njoku's just a solid tight end besides some of the injuries that he goes through. But another thing that I always do is I take a couple rookies. I said I accomplished that with Travis Hunter a little bit early, but I feel good. I took a South Jersey rookie in Bayshell Tootin from Virginia Tech in the 8th round. And it was crazy. I don't know if you saw the rankings, but they had all 3 of those Jaguar running backs literally ranked within like 4 total spots of each other between Travis Etienne. Why am I drawing a blank on the other dude's name from Auburn? The other Bigsby, Tanks Bigsby, and Bayshell Tootin were all ranked right next to each other as Jags running backs, and I went with a rookie that could possibly emerge because Travis Etienne's contract situation, he's getting, I think it might be his 4th or 5th year in the league. He's not tied to the current regime who drafted him in the 1st round, and he's a running back at the end of the day, and you just know how that story goes. So the fresh blood, especially a guy like Tootin that runs a 4.3, I felt good about getting him. What was your like 6th through 8th round picks looking like? Who did you like get in those?
Well, I want to say to what you said about taking rookies, my strategy is usually, I want to take some proven players, but I don't want to lean too heavily on it because you never know who's going to fall off that year.
Yeah.
And I do like to take not necessarily rookies. I mean, I will take a rookie, but I also like to take guys who showed promise in their first year but didn't get a full opportunity. Now they're about to get a full opportunity, and I think they can really show what they've got. I took for example, I took Xavier Worthy. He was a rookie last year. He flashed a lot of potential. I think he's going to get the ball a lot more this season. I took a rookie.
You drafted a couple guys that were getting hot in the playoffs, like Will Shipley. Obviously, Saquon was toting the rock, but Will Shipley kind of caught some heat in the playoffs, and then obviously, what's his name went off in the Super Bowl. It was the only productive offensive skill position player for the Chiefs in that game.
Yeah. He went off towards the end of that game. Definitely not in the first half.
And he probably
he flashed a lot of potential.
McCollum got cut. Our boy McCollum actually got cut by the Eagles and made the 53.
And then my tight end too is a guy who I'm pretty sure he was a rookie last year, and he's going to get an opportunity this year. Tight end for the Jaguars, Brandon Strange. So that's another one right there. That's kind of my strategy is like take some guys who, and then Tyrone Tracy is another one. So I like to take some guys who might have a big year, but then I also take some proven guys like Josh Jacobs, AJ Brown, Chuba Hubbard, who was big for me last year. Then on my bench, some proven guys like who I know aren't going to have a big season, but they can be solid workhorses.
All right. So what do you do?
Sean Bateman, Xavier Leggett, Michael Pittman Jr.
What do you do after you get your starting lineup set? Like when you have all the starters set in your lineup, and now you're like guys are getting drafted to your bench.
Here's what I do. I make sure
are you a guy that even goes do you build up the entire lineup and then start going bench, or do you start loading up on
let me explain. So my first 4 picks, no matter what, how it shakes up, my first 4 picks is 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers every single time.
That's always.
Always. My 5th pick is going to be either a running back or a wide receiver. I want to get my flex in as well. Then 6th pick, sometimes I'll get tight end too. Sometimes I'll go quarterback. I knew I wanted Dak, and he still had a long ways to go. So I think that's when I took my tight end.
And who'd you go with in the 3rd round again?
Or maybe I might have even taken a bench player before I took a tight end, actually.
Who'd you go with in the 3rd round? Because
hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to pull up the draft recap again. Here it is. 3rd round. So 2nd round, I took Josh Jacobs. 3rd round, I took Chuba Hubbard.
Because you could have. I think you could have gotten Jalen there. I'm pretty sure Jalen was on the board if you did want. No, Jalen got picked 2 picks before you right there.
I would not have went quarterback.
Even with Jalen?
No, not that early. Definitely not. So round 6. So round 5, yeah, that's when I took my flex, Tyrone Tracy Jr. Round 6, I think I took my first bench player. I took no, I took my tight end, Tyler Warren. It was between him
Oh
or
yeah,
Mark.
no, you didn't even mention that in part of the rookies. You didn't even mention him.
Yes, I did. Run it back. I definitely
Oh
mentioned
yeah, you
Tyler
might have. I
Warren.
was looking at my phone. You might have.
But yeah, it
Well, you
was
can hype
between
him
him or
up. I
Mark.
was
It
going
was
to ask you
between
specifically about that. Did I text you that specifically? Because he was actually, when I looked at your initial roster, he was the first person that I noticed because I was like, oh, that's actually like kind of sneaky pick for a tight end right there. Because I went in Joku like in the vicinity of that range, but you
I
sniped
was
him
I
Bryson
was
Cooper.
thinking about either Njoku, Warren, or Mark Andrews at that point, and I thought the upside of Warren, I kind of had to go with
But you
him.
also did. You got Pittman later on too, right?
Yeah, as a
So you
bench
got two
player.
Colts
So then
guys.
round seven, yeah, that's when I went bench. I took back-to-back Colts. I took
Oh, you
Michael
know what I'm
Pittman
doing,
Jr.
Dante? Live on the podcast. You know what I'm doing? That actually
And
just reminded
then,
me.
so yeah, then after taking my first bench player, then round 8, that's when I went with Dak as my QB and then loaded up on bench. And then I decided my last 4 picks in order was going to be defense, which was Giants because of the pass rush. That was my thinking there. So I want to go defense, tight end 2, took Brandon Strange. QB 2 took Sam Darnold, and kicker took Brandon
Well, that
McManus.
actually just reminded me. So I just moved Ayuk to the IR spot, opens up a spot. I actually didn't draft a QB2. So what I'm doing, we just had some Colts mentioned. I'm going to stash Anthony Richardson for when Daniel Jones shits the bed and Anthony Richardson.
Tell you what. Listen. Since you're my co-host, I'm going to help you out. All right. I will trade you Sam Darnold, okay, for Bijan Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Get me right on that plan. Get me right in there. When are we
See,
playing each other, by the way? Let me look at the schedule real quick when you're trying to pull quick ones on me. I'm seeing you week 3, so you're getting that.
I'll give you Darnold and Tracy Jr. for Bijan.
Let me see what your starting lineup, who what the matchups are for you. Oh no, this is get the popcorn out. So real quickly, just knowing off the top of my head, you got Chuba, and I have Bijan. Week 3, the Falcons and the Panthers play each other, so it's a head-to-head running back 1 matchup for each other,
Oh
or running
shoot.
back 2 matchup.
Well, yeah, Chubb is my RB too, but yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm trying to see if any like that applies to
You
any of you.
got so Lamar's playing Monday night that week. So in all likelihood, we're going to know who wins this matchup until Monday night because that's a huge portion of your fantasy points.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's interesting though. We got 2 starting running backs head to head. That's actually some popcorn
and
there.
of course, we got AJ versus Devontae Smith. So we'll see who ends up being the favorite target in that game. That could also be a deciding factor. I have that week. I have Xavier Worthy going up against the New York Giants defense, who I have rostered. Trying to think if there's anything else interesting about this.
All right, real quickly, let's just before we move on to some Eagles topics, let's run through the starting lineups for each team. So my starting lineup ended up being Lamar QB1, and this is standard position, so it's just like the regular format. Lamar QB1, Bijan RB1. Right now, Jalen Warren RB2, but I'm moving him out of there. I'm actually going to put probably Trey Benson because I like him. He was one of the RBs I picked up. I'm not going to start Tootin until I feel comfortable with doing that. So Trey Benson's going to be my RB2. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 1. Travis Hunter, wide receiver 2. And Njoku, tight end 1. Smitty, wide receiver or flex. Jets defense, which I don't know how I feel about that. I might move on from them real quickly. And then Cairo Santos, kicker, Bears. So what's your starting lineup looking like?
So obviously, Dak Prescott QB1, Josh Jacobs, Chuba Hubbard, my running backs, AJ Brown, Xavier Worthy, my wideouts. Tyler Warren, my tight end. Giants defense, Brandon McManus, a kicker. And as of right now, I'm undecided between if I start Tyrone Tracy Jr. versus Washington or if I start Michael Pittman Jr. versus Miami in my flex. I'm not fully certain. Oh, wait a minute. Miami, Sunday, 1:00. Who's that game? Oh, the Colts are home. Okay. Yeah, then I'm undecided. I was going to say if Miami is home and Michael Pittman Jr. has to sit on that sideline that's just in way too much heat. You know how they do it? How that sideline gets no shade in the Miami heat in early September. I would probably tell Michael Pittman Jr. to sit this one out. But
That's what you're factoring in. That's what you're thinking about,
dude. Bro.
They got fans.
You ever
on the
been to
sideline,
Florida?
bro.
You ever been to Florida? Come on,
Bro,
man.
it's like a $1 billion football team, bro. You don't think they got resources to combat that?
Listen, all right. It's not like
You're caught off guard by that answer.
no,
Why?
because what I'm saying is it's a tough decision right now between Tracy Jr. and Michael Pittman Jr.
I
So
like to lean
if
running
it's a
back
tough
because,
decision and I'm looking for just like any reason to start one guy over the other, then I'm going to take that as a reason.
well, Tyron Tracy will probably start over Cam Scatterbo, I would like to believe. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield, so he adds a little bit of pass catching, and he's a running back that'll probably get 10-plus carries. Michael Pittman has a shaky quarterback situation, but he has gone off with like not a consistent, like when Flacco was in there with him as the backup, he was getting fed. But he would also get fed with Anthony Richardson's, but we don't know what Daniel Jones is going to do. I would assume Daniel
That's
Jones.
a good point. Yeah, considering it's
Also,
an
you
unknown what
also had
Daniel
the two
Jones is
Colts.
going to do.
You're starting Tyler Warren, so that's already happening. So you're going to start another Colt that you're not really that.
Yeah, that's a good
comfortable
point.
with.
That's a good point. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Let's look. What do you want to do first? Do you want to talk about Thursday night's game, or do you want to look at the schedule as a whole for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, we can do that. Let's just focus on Thursday, obviously, and then we can go through the schedule, like breeze through it. But we're going to be breaking down the games each week anyway, before and after. So, but yeah, for Thursday, obviously the big news in the NFL, Micah Parsons is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. So that's a huge difference. That literally added an extra point to the spread. One player added an extra point to the spread, and they got a player back in return.
I think it should have been 2 points added to the spread.
Yeah, so
honestly,
that's
he makes that big of an impact.
I mean, like, they just lost pretty much their most dominant pass rusher, and in the offseason, they lost to Marcus Lawrence as well. So it's like they just lost two of their best defensive linemen over the past decade in one offseason, and they traded one literally a week before the season, and I don't even know if they're going to be able to regroup. And it's funny because the last tweet on CeeDee Lamb's Twitter or X account, I should say nowadays, are they still called tweets? They're still tweets, but they're on X, right?
No, they're technically called Zeets. But nobody calls it that.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, nobody calls it Zeets.
Yeah,
so
everyone still calls it Twitter.
Or maybe there's technically just called posts. I don't know.
True. But everybody still calls them tweets or whatever. At least I do, just referencing it. But, the last post on CeeDee Lamb's X account is just pay the man was that tweet. Remember that tweet from a couple months ago? Like, I don't understand why we always go through this. Just pay the man, paraphrase a little bit. And so it just seems like not only you trade a player, but you devastate the locker room as well. So I really expect the Eagles to come out and just absolutely lay a beating on the Cowboys. And I'm not even just trying to say that being an Eagles guy. I really just think like this Cowboys locker room is devastated. And it's actually I like the competitive aspect to it of a rivalry, especially as good as this rivalry is. And when you just take this element out of it and where the Eagles are at as a team right now and where the Cowboys are now at, even before they traded Micah Parsons and even before all those issues with Micah Parsons arose, where they were at and now where they're at after that, especially for this specific season in 2025, I just really think the Eagles are going to come out and just absolutely spank the Cowboys.
I mean, my only worry, and I've stressed this before, but now we know who is going to be starting. It was announced today I saw it on Twitter, so maybe it's not the most reliable
See,
source.
you just
I
did
forget
it.
who tweeted it, but
See, you just did it twice. What we just talked about. You said Twitter and who tweeted it just now.
yeah, I still say Twitter and tweet. I'm not going to stop. I don't give a shit what the.
No, I'm saying I do the same thing. So that's just what everybody told me.
But I forget who tweeted, so I don't know how credible it is. But
It was
from
Jeff
what
McLean. So I mean, he's the pretty much number one beat reporter for the Eagles. So
I forget who posted it. Who was it?
Jeff McLean, who's like.
Oh, okay, yeah. So very credible source then. So yeah, your starting corner against Dallas will be Adoree Jackson. So listen, as long as Adoree Jackson plays well, I say the Eagles win pretty handily.
Were you shocked that? Were you kind of shocked that Keeley made the roster in any way?
I wasn't shocked. No, I wasn't shocked he made the roster. I'm not
Just
shocked at all.
Adding,
He's not the starting corner, but I'm not shocked he made the roster.
Yeah, just from adding like Jacorian Bennett late into the process, knowing that
he finally changed his number.
Yeah, but knowing that he wasn't going to get cut, I was kind of getting nervous that they were going to try to trade Keeley Ringo at the end, or maybe they did try to and just couldn't find anything. But they ended up moving on.
The way they have it right now, they have like if Adoree doesn't work, you can try Jacorian. If Jacorian doesn't work, you can try Keeley. Like one of these three guys has to do well.
Well, the guy that ended up being the odd man out was Eli Ricks. So he was the veteran type guy.
Yeah, they got rid of him. And we still have Mac McWilliams on the roster, don't we?
Yeah, he wasn't getting cut. They actually did move on from some of their draft picks, which they usually don't do. But Kyle McCord made it back onto the practice squad. No one was going to steal him. If you wanted him, you would have drafted him in the first 5 rounds. If you wanted him, you wouldn't have let him fall to the 6th round. But, yeah, the Eagles and also something specific on the roster is I don't know if you saw it yourself. Cooper DeJean is not listed as a cornerback. He's listed as a defensive back.
Oh, that is interesting. But I mean, he'll surely be playing. Oh my God! Wait.
Well, I'm just saying, like when you're looking.
Wait. Hold on. I just earlier in the year during training camp, they mentioned DeJean was playing reps in the nickel.
What did I not say? That should have been a suggestion in the beginning of last.
No. What I was about to say was DeJean was playing reps at nickel when they were in the nickel package, but then in the 3-4 package, he was playing outside corner. So I wonder if Adoree Jackson is only going to be playing outside corner when they're playing nickel and DeJean has to move inside. Because in that case, I'm not as worried about corner too.
Yeah, and also they let Coop come onto the scene a little bit later last year. Obviously, he had the injury in training camp, and Makuba's dealt with a couple injuries, but he actually practiced today. So maybe they're just like letting Makuba, learn things and get healthy, and the whole end up being the safety later on. But also, when Coop was playing safety in the base packages earlier in camp, Makuba was banged up too, like through stretches of that. So I don't know if they're trying to combat that injury and not having that guy. But last year, their 2nd-round pick, Coop, we know how that all ended, and he ended up playing. He just got healthy in the beginning of the season, learned, and then came onto the scene. So maybe Makuba does pretty much the same thing. But they don't have as early as a bye to transition him in. So that's the interesting part about how.
When is our bye week this year?
I think it's like what, week 8?
Something like that, maybe. I will be at the game Thursday night, by the way. I am extremely excited for that, to get to witness the Eagles.
Yeah, I get a lot of Eagles games. Went to all 3 of the playoff games last year, but this is one I could not get my hands on. So a little salty about it, but I mean, you can't question my fandom because I'm always there. So
I don't think a fandom should ever be judged by games attended, considering
how I nail that off the top of my head.
Football games are.
Did I nail that off? I think I did nail that. I said week 9, right? Week 8, I think I said. I'm pretty sure it's week 9 for the Eagles. They're off. But yeah, a couple other things about the roster. We were just talking about the safety spot. The guy that they moved on from got CJGJ sent out for. Kenyon Green originally got cut from the 53-man, which was expected. But after some roster manipulation, they picked up a rookie lineman and ended up putting him on the IR. So that opened up a roster spot, and Kenyon Green made it back onto the roster. Wide receiver wise, it was announced in the same type of move that Terrace Marshall was cut, but he was brought back to the practice squad. So, which means clap it up because our boy from Tarleton State ended up making the roster, Darius Cooper.
Yeah.
And shout out to Tarleton State because they were just plus 400 underdog money line on what? I think it was Friday or Saturday night. I don't know. The days are mixing up. I've been busy lately, but I think it was either last night. No, I think it was Friday night. They were plus 400 underdogs versus Army, and they ended up winning. So not on top of one of their players from last year making an NFL roster, they won week 1 versus Army, who was actually ranked last season. So shout out to them.
And if this were college football 26, then that would also mean that your pro potential gets raised to about a C minus. So, shout out.
Have you been playing Madden or college football?
I download the free trials for both. I've played like a little bit of them, but not much.
I'm in a 32-person Madden league. But yeah, also wide receiver wise, we just mentioned they brought Britton Covey back, even though he's not even really a wide receiver. He's just a return specialist. But the corresponding move to Darius Cooper making the roster, we pretty much predicted it. It kind of sucks because he's a talented player and he was a draft pick. So Howie doesn't like to move on from draft picks. But the odd man out with Johnny Wilson getting hurt and being able to stay on the roster just from being hurt and opening up that spot, Aeneas Smith actually did not make the roster for the
Yeah, I was a little sad to see that. I thought he did really well in the preseason, but I mean,
he's a
so
guy.
did everyone.
He's an actually. Let me look it up real quick because I haven't paid attention. He already got picked up. Did he get picked up by the Bengals already?
Why didn't we? I was hoping we could have just kept him.
No, he's actually a Carolina Panther. So,
oh man, that's.
So I was just gonna say he's not a guy that's gonna make you get back to your practice squad. He's too talented. He's gonna be on.
Yeah, that stinks, dude.
And
I think he's got a lot.
What's his name, right? Hunter Renfrow was making his return to the NFL. The former Raiders, Clemson wide receiver, and the Panthers brought him in for camp. They cut Hunter Renfrow, so he actually made the roster over Hunter Renfrow. So they cut Hunter Renfrow to open up a spot to sign Aeneas Smith. So
yeah, and because he's a damn good wide receiver, in my opinion.
He was good, dynamic with the ball in his hands. There's just too many mouths to feed, and that just shows.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I say, you look good in the preseason, but so did everyone. Johnny Wilson looked great in the preseason. Darius Cooper looked great in the preseason.
They also had
bring in John Mechie.
Yeah, John Mechie. That's what John Mechie is really what threw the wide receiver depth chart into a spin. That's what really switched things up for the dynamic because John Mechie and Jahan Dotson were always going to make the roster as 3 and 4, but then it was just how the rest was going to play out. But for a 1AA guy, and I'm not talking smack because a lot of 1AA guys are really good and some of the best players in the NFL, but for a kid from Tarleton State to beat out a kid from Texas A&M at the wide receiver position, that just shows you, and especially with Smith having the upper hand of being a second-year guy and getting drafted by the Eagles as opposed to an undrafted free agent rookie, that just shows you how serious the Eagles feel about Darius Cooper actually playing a role for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he looked outstanding in the preseason. So, we'll see.
And you can learn from 2 of the best in the game, in Smitty and AJ. So it's not bad mentorship.
Think about this, right? Let's say there's a nightmare scenario where AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson get hurt, and then you got to throw to John Mechie, Darius Cooper, and Johnny Wilson. I would be really intrigued to watch that game. Not to say we'll be fine. We have these 3 guys. Obviously, there's a huge drop off there, but I would be a big part of me. Honestly, part of me will definitely be worried for that upcoming game, but a big part of me would be I'm actually pretty excited to see what these.
Yeah, but the thing is, if it came down to that, that would also mean they would probably elevate Terrace Marshall from the roster. So if you're talking about those 4 specific guys just mentioned, that would be a former 16th overall pick, 2 second-round pick wide receivers, and then Darius Cooper, who's just a talented ass dude. So it's on paper, you should be able to still produce, and you still have Saquon and Dallas Goedert. and
Yeah.
running back
And the offensive line and
yeah,
Jalen
exactly. You
Hurts
still have one
throwing
of
the
the best
ball.
offensive.
I think that wide receiver group could win a game against a bottom tier NFL team.
That
Like the
could probably get
Cleveland
you by.
Browns.
That could probably get you by maybe versus
Like Cleveland.
I don't know. Their
New
defense is
Orleans, that could definitely win you a
yeah.
game
Cleveland
against
would
New
be more so
Orleans.
of a trap game because their defense is like solidified with
Yeah,
all the
but
players.
definitely New Orleans.
Yeah, now New Orleans, I would feel decent about my chances with that, but that would be very interesting if it played out like that. I think that would open up Saquon in an emergency situation and see a lot of catches out of the backfield. I think you would see a lot more of
Or they would just throw it to Shipley out of the backfield a lot and work him in there.
yeah. I would have to look at what Saquon's projected receiving line is for this year because I feel like that's an element people still sleep on because the Eagles just don't throw to the running backs. But
Well, that's how he got his first touchdown as an Eagle in
yeah,
Brazil.
and that was one of the last times that they actually utilized him in that type of role because
They
that was
threw
also
to him in the end zone at another point much later in the season. I forget which game exactly.
yeah, but I'm saying like the volume of like his rookie year, he had 91 catches.
Mm. Yeah, they threw him a lot of screens that year.
Or I don't know if it was 91. It was like in the 80. I think it was 81 or somewhere in that space.
He had a big screen pass against the Eagles that rookie year.
Yeah, so I wonder how much Saquon will be utilized in the passing game, which will inflate some of those Jalen Hurts stats to get him a little bit more respect because everybody acts just like a lot like Jalen when he throws for 3,200 yards every year. Like, oh, like he like really only exclusively throws down the field to the receivers and the tight ends. And he doesn't really throw those screen passes. Like he's throwing the ball when he does down the field. These other quarterbacks, they rack up the stats, but they're also throwing the ball they're dumping the ball off to the running back like Alvin Kamara or CMC the whole time. You know what I mean? So it's like, give or take, like when Jalen is throwing the ball, he's throwing it down the field to his receivers or tight ends. And the gap between his 3,200 yards to like a guy that's thrown for 4,200 yards and all the stat passing yards that he's racking up from his running back out of the backfield or little screen passes to his wide receiver, like that's, it's not really that vast. So, yeah, I mean, this is the year. If Jalen really puts it together again, I think all the naysayers are just going to go away because I think it's just will be undeniable at this point. If he puts them in position to go back to back and he's a little bit more productive in the pass game this year, and if Saquon ends up getting banged up at any point in time, maybe misses a week or two because you can't expect him to be Superman. And he can really turn it on and get back to more so how he played in 2022. I mean, I think everyone's going to really start flipping the narrative on him.
Yeah. So moving on, however, I mean, at this rate, we can either talk about the upcoming schedule, or we can move on to our next set of topics.
Yeah, we'll just go to baseball. I mean, we'll just go week by week.
Well, then with that, it is time for my meatball of the week. And once again, I don't know the name of this meatball. I could have looked it up. I didn't bother to. But it's another CEO who was at what was it? Tennis match? I really should have done more research before delivering this meatball of the week. But oh well, because this guy was at let's call it a tennis match. Might have been. And there was a player handing out autographs or visors. And he went to hand one of these visors, maybe an autograph visor, to a child, a very happy child, a child happy to receive said autographed visor. When some jabroni decided to snatch it out of the little kid's hand, and everybody got really upset. This guy that did some digging, turns out he's CEO of a company, and he has landed himself under some hot water. Similar to the CEO at the Coldplay concert. So, random CEO guy, you're my meatball of the week.
I actually have a meatball of the week myself, too. Did you see this one? Auburn transfer to Georgia State cornerback Tyler Scott. Pre-game, off the top of my head, I'm forgetting which team they were playing. Let me look it up real quick, who Georgia State, because they're playing a big time program. Snatched a receiver's chain off his neck pre-game, threw it into the stands, And the police actually intervened, and I'm pretty sure he got in trouble for it and did not make his way into the game for Georgia State. And he was an Auburn transfer. So I would assume, not knowing too much about Georgia State, that he probably played a big part of their team coming from Auburn. You know what I mean? I would assume that he's probably would be playing a
Yeah.
pretty big role coming from an SEC school. So Ole Miss.
Wow. Yeah.
Ole Miss.
That's
So you
crazy.
snatch his chain, you get in trouble with the cops, don't get into the game, you transfer from Auburn, and your team gives up 63 points and you lose by 56. That is
That's
my
pretty
meatball
good.
of the week.
That's a good meatball of the week. And by the way, just quick shout out to Bryce Underwood. Made his first start last night.
Stop
Got the
with the
job
corny.
done.
Stop with the fake. My Notre Dame's coming on in an hour. That's why we did the podcast at this time.
And my
And
Michigan already
I
played
saw
last
you
night.
posted
They
on your story
won.
once again.
Great
Blah,
game.
blah, blah, blah,
Fantastic
blah, blah.
game.
Yeah, I mean they they came away with the victory yesterday, but it wasn't pretty. It was not
Win's a
pretty.
win.
And
Win
that's
is a
a
win.
theme of
Is a
college. I know
win.
we don't talk too much college football. There's too much to talk about. And we're Philadelphia based, and we're not like Philadelphia. We're not like diehard Rutgers or Villanova, Temple guys or anything like that. Or Penn State guys, like normal guys from this area. But the theme of college football right now is defense. We just saw Texas, Ohio State 14-7. We saw Clemson.
Yeah, Arch Manning looked horrible.
We saw Clemson LSU, I think, less than 40 total points. That was another top 10 matchup. And then we got Miami and Notre Dame in a little bit. That could be another defensive type game where both teams score mid-20s or something like that.
Who's Notre Dame's quarterback this year?
CJ Carr, redshirt freshman.
I haven't heard of him. Anyway, let's get to the Phillies.
So how you feel about my hat? Got that at the stadium
It's
last
nice. It's a nice hat. Like that.
I got my Philly stuff on. I'm feeling good. But first thing we'll start off with, have we actually digested the Zach Wheeler news? Do we actually know the severity, as in like what this really means for this team? And what ties into that real quickly? The Phillies just added a pitcher about an hour ago before we started the podcast, Walker Buehler, who got cut by the Red Sox on Tuesday. It's funny enough, for my topics, I actually had him listed as should the Phillies sign him, because today there was actually a trend that I noticed before the podcast started where like 4 starting level players between like a couple pitchers and a couple infielders got signed to different winning type teams. And it seemed like this was like the market was moving quickly in this regard. So the Phillies snatched up a pitcher and a guy that's a 2-time All-Star with a career ERA of 3.56. I know we're not too impressed because recently he hasn't really been good.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great season since 2021.
But good teams are interested in him and we're trying to employ him. So that's the interesting part is he was in
I just don't see how he's going to be utilized. Right now they have 5 starters who I feel good about all 5 as of right now. I don't want to see Walker in the bullpen again. He doesn't do well there. You look at the bullpen right now. What the bullpen needs is another lefty, considering Jose Alvarado is
I feel like as
not
much
going to be
as
available for the postseason. So I just
don't
really see how you utilize him.
I feel like as much as you don't like Walker in the bullpen, and I feel like he isn't at his best in the bullpen, but that's just the bottom line is he will go to the bullpen. That's just what is going to happen.
I don't like it. He's not good in the bullpen. I don't like putting him there.
They're not going to move Walker.
He's been good as a starter this year. Let him start.
Walker Buehler's probably looking for a spot to play regardless. Like he'll take a bullpen role if that comes to it.
I wouldn't mind giving him Jordan Romano's role. I'm happy with that.
But that's not going to happen, though. Taijuan Walker's already locked into being the swing guy, so that's what they're going to do.
Give him Romano's role. But by the way, that was the best Phillies news we've gotten all season. Let's talk about that news. Jordan Romano added to the 15-day injured list. Hopefully he stays there.
Honestly, how is he still on the roster?
I don't know, which is why I hope he just stays on the injured list.
Do you think he's eating innings? Because if he's eating innings, they're doing that with Jose Alvarado too, and I don't like that because that's not shaping the bullpen for the postseason.
No, I don't mind Alvarado at all because I mean,
I like Alvarado.
You still have a division to win.
I know Alvarado also is a part of the long-term picture. They're going to re-sign him, even though he's making on the last year of his deal. They're going to re-sign him, and having Duran and Alvarado moving forward is actually really, really good.
And Kirkering,
really, really good.
And Kirkering, who's still only what was he like 24 years old?
Yeah, but Strom I mean,
He's shaky. I like Banks. I'm really starting to like
Strom's
Banks.
one of those classic, like he had the outlier season, was the All-Star, but I don't know if he's ever going to reach.
And David Robertson has looked great.
Yeah, so
although he's not part of the long-term plans, obviously he's 40 years old.
But at the end of the day, we went in with the mentality of when we got this devastating Alvarado news, we were thinking like, okay, well, we still got Wheeler to give us 7, so we only got to get 2 innings. But now, with the talent at pitching that we have, even with Christopher Sanchez being that guy, we still cannot trust any of the guys in this current starting rotation to give us a solidified 7 in the playoffs.
Given the career resume in the postseason of one Ranger Suarez, I trust him. I trust
Chris. 5 good in the playoffs, though, and he always gets in. And there's always going to be that one inning where the bases get loaded. That's always Ranger.
Yeah, I trust Ranger in the playoffs. As long as he pitches well enough the rest of the year to prove he deserves a spot as a playoff starter, given his career resume in the playoffs, I kind of trust Aaron Nola as long as he just pitches serviceable leading into the postseason.
Also, real quickly, I hope you guys are in that, I'll just give you, hopefully not too much info, but a little 265 to my account.
Every time I go to the Discord to see what your parlay is for the day, that always ends up being the day you don't post, or I end up going with your parlay, and that ends up being the day it doesn't hit. I've had a horrible luck with that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So
I got to make sure I start tailing your bets.
That was just a 5-legger.
I'm at a point where either we both make money or none of us make money. So I'm just going to tail your bets every time. And if we
tonight, you know what? I got one specifically for you tonight because I don't even do this, but this is how I was feeling. I was feeling the vibes. I got Schwarber 2 home runs at boosted to plus 3,300.
I'm not placing a Schwarber 2+ home run bet. What are you, nuts?
Bro, I put like $10 on it, but I mean, he just hit 4 the other night. So
come on, the likelihood of that.
Yeah. Well, that's what meant to tell the people real quickly. We're talking about the Phillies, so Kyle Schwarber 4 home runs the other night. We almost didn't mention it because we're caught up looking at the long view, but review of the week of what happened.
Ooh, I got something to say about that.
Real quickly, there's only 6 guys. Remember early in the season when Judge was batting over 400?
Yeah.
Bro, there's 6 guys batting over 300 now in the entire MLB, and Trey Turner is one of them.
I think he's the only one in the National League, if I'm not mistaken.
So Trey's doing
what I will say about the Schwarber, if Stott had gotten on base, it would have happened for the first time in Major League history. We would have seen a home run cycle. If Stott would have just gotten on base. That's how close we were. Since I learned about it a few years ago, I'm dying to see it happen in the MLB, and we were just a Bryson Stott walk.
Yo, you know what
hitting a grand slam in that 4th home run.
You want to hear the most hating thing I'll ever say about Philadelphia sports potentially?
What?
I wish the Weston Wilson cycle never happened. There, why? I said it. Because I hate that he has that on his resume to keep him on this roster. I hate that he has that in his back pocket as a Uno reverse card every time they try to cut this dude. I hate it. So,
if that's why he's still on the roster, what does Jordan Romano have? What has he done?
Does Jordan Romano pitch to Weston Wilson in practice, and that's why he's still on the roster because they see him hitting dingers left and right? They're like, "Wow, we got to keep this dude around real quick."
Or is it vice versa? Is Jordan Romano how they love Weston Wilson, and he's striking him out every time? So they.
Well, you know how the Phillies had this thing where they got a couple guys like Trey and Bryson Stott that aren't like the biggest dudes, but like outside of that, every dude has to be 6'3" and 220 pounds, and that's like their stipulation to make the roster. Like that Weston Wilson just fits that build, so that's why he's still on the team. Like every time they want to go get a bullpen guy, I didn't even know David Robertson was that big. I didn't even know that dude was that big.
What do you mean?
He looks huge out there. How big is David Robertson?
I don't know. But the one thing I will say, because this is going to be a good segue into something.
He's only 5'11". He looks a lot bigger out there. But he's got big abs.
This is going to be a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. You look at the right-handed bats in the outfield. Um, Castellanos, I mean, at this point, he's kind of starting to platoon. But in situations when you need a righty in the lineup, it should be Bader over. I mean, I think it's already obvious, but it should be Bader over Weston Wilson every single
Well, I'm glad
goddamn
that you brought
time.
that up
Because
we have.
my God, I think Bader looks really good. And I think my thing with Bader is I think he brings the energy, the spark that this team needs. Like they
Dude, he looks
obviously
like
did.
the big league. Does he not look like the big league chew guy?
He does, but he also looks like I think I already showed the picture on the
He needs to get
podcast.
better with his eye. Also, when I give Trey credit, what was it last night when the we had a guy in scoring position? I think the 8th or 9th inning, and he got locked up on that nasty ass curveball. Did you see that yesterday? That was disgusting. He like literally just took
Yeah.
a curveball right down the middle. I only brought that up and remembered that because Harrison Bader was doing that in the beginning of his Phillies career, but he's
But
got better. But real quickly, you know how we have
wait, hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying about Bader. So
All right.
obviously they ended up losing the game against the Mets, but when he hit that game-tying home run against the Mets, just like the way he got like hyped up and ran the bases, following that clutch home run, I realized this is the kind of spark that they need. This is the kind of guy they need in the postseason.
Did you think
I
it
think
fills,
Bader. I think
fills
this
that gap
trade.
of do you think
What's
it
that?
fills that gap? Because when you said that, it reminded me of when Hoskins hit the playoff home run and the smile on his
Yeah,
face. When he was
I
running around.
think the Bader trade is going to end up being a rather significant one, and I think he's going to provide a major spark in the postseason that
And Brandon Marsh
this
is
team
batting.
lacked last year.
Brandon Marsh is batting 266, and he actually has 7 pinch hit appearances this year and has 5 hits in pinch hits. So Brandon Marsh is still adding value when he's not in the starting lineup
Yeah,
too.
and that's the thing too. If you start Bader against a lefty, and then later on in the game they bring a righty out of the pen, I mean, I wouldn't do this to Bader, maybe to
And
somebody else
Castellanos was a little bit
starting.
salty in that interview when he got defensive replaced. But I was talking about maybe for the playoffs, Johan gets back onto the roster so they could use him as a late game
I can't wait to see
replacement.
what they do with September call-ups, which is only a couple
Well, I
days
was going to
away.
wrap up the outfield talk specifically with all what we just talked about the outfield, how we feel a little bit better with the direction. Does it really matter if Justin Crawford comes up this year?
At this point, I mean, it's already September, so I don't
Because
even
I
know.
just want
I think it's ridiculous they didn't bring him up the whole time.
I know,
But
but
now
at
we
this
have a
point,
loaded outfield,
that's
so
what I'm saying. At
I
this
don't
point, I
know.
feel like it just like really doesn't matter. I'd rather him just start fresh next year because we're not really tied to Kepler next year too, so that can just open up that spot.
I
We don't
can't
even
wait
know.
until Max Kepler is not a member of the
Yeah,
Phillies
and also
organization.
JT's been balling too. I mean,
Yeah,
all the
he's
guys
been
in
doing well.
contract here, dude. It was like JT like forgot for the beginning of the season that he was in a contract year, and then just remembered a couple months ago, and then he was just like, "Yeah, wait, I got to feed
Yeah.
my family again. Let me just get another 25 million because he's back to pretty much being
He's been playing really well,
I
and
mean, he's
his
pretty much a
defense
top 5
behind home
catcher
plate
again.
has been better than ever.
He's pretty much a top 5 catcher in the league overall again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the way he's playing right now, I would put it. I don't know what kind of season Adley Rutsch.
He hasn't even been playing, bro. He doesn't even play. He's been hurt
Oh, I didn't know that.
all
So
year.
right now, I would probably just put him behind Cal Raleigh, honestly.
Cal's only batting
Or I
241.
don't know how Will Smith is doing, but
Will Smith's he's like batting high 290s. He's always fire. So
yeah, I would put him behind Will Smith and Cal
but
Raleigh, honestly.
another guy, when I said those batting averages were down, Alec Boehm's also high up there. He's batting 280 again. I mean, Alec Boehm's just solid.
He's been good since coming back.
Everyone just needs to just stop talking shit on Alec Boehm. He's just a solid player. Stop trying to make him more than he is and stop trying to make him less than he is. He's a very solid player for us. He's like our Dallas Goddard. He's the Phillies' Dallas Goddard, pretty much.
I think that's a very good comparison, actually.
Like, he's just like, he gets big hits for us when we need it. Sometimes he hits random home runs. He's always going to pretty much put himself on base. His defense hasn't been that bad this year, and he can also play first base when we need him to. Like, he's just a solid player and a high-level player for us. So.
And you want to talk about big hits when you need it. I mean, that's what Dallas Goedert did against the Saints. That
Well, I mean, he was the 4th leading receiver in the playoffs last year. So, I mean, in the entire NFL. So that just shows you. But Yeah, I feel pretty good about the and Bryce is getting back to his form too. He's batting
Bryce is
over
looking good,
270.
man. Bryce is looking
And then
good.
Schwarber's just, he's that guy. What did I text you the other day? Let him know because what did I text you the other day about Schwarber when he hit the 4 home runs and you started laughing at me when I texted it to you? Because I was critical of him when he was batting 183. And I said, right now, I would let Kyle Schwarber punch me directly in the face and I'd eat it because of all the smack that I talked about his batting average before because he's that guy. I literally am just waiting any day now for them to say that they have re-signed him because I do not even want this day.
What's crazy to me right now, Schwarber has 119 RBI, which is like really impressive with a month to go. And that had me thinking like, okay, is he closing in on Harper in 06? Or no, does he have 109 or 119 right now? Hold on.
What, RBIs?
Yeah.
I thought it was 107 last time I checked. I could be wrong.
It's either, so it's probably 109. No, it's 119. Yeah, it is 119. Because he had 9 in that 4 home run game. So that was really impressive. He's still 20 behind Ryan Howard in 06, who finished with 1. No, that's 30. Yeah, he's still 30 behind
But he's
Howard
on
in
pace.
06,
He's
who
on
had
pace for
129.
59. He's on pace for 59 home runs, which would break
Yeah.
Philly's record.
But that's the thing. Like, he'll probably end up with close to the 58 number, and he probably won't end up with the same RBI. And he's having like an outstanding season, and still, it's not going to be as good as Howard's 06 season. Because keep
Dude,
in mind,
he's played himself.
Howard also batted 313 that year, so
He's also played himself into. He's
crazy.
played himself into like the legendary Phillies category, to where it's like our fathers that are a way older, a couple generations older than us, are like when they're talking about the Phillies power hitters over the years, like he's in that Mike Schmidt class, like like he's there.
Oh yeah, he right as it stands right now. He's the third best power hitter, or the third best home run hitter in Phillies history, without a doubt.
Well, you think Howard and Schmidt are in front of him?
Yeah, I wouldn't put anyone else ahead of Schwarber besides Howard.
Maybe if Tommy would have just played more times with the Phillies, but
he didn't play nearly long enough to put him ahead of.
But yeah, I would agree, and that's like, I mean, Bryce is that guy, but like he's to the point where he's gotten to the level of he's 1B to Bryce. Bryce is always going to be that guy. I don't care what anybody says. Bryce is always the guy, but Kyle Schwarber is right next to him right now, and then Trey Turner is like right here. Like
Dude,
Trey Turner is literally right here.
Right now, 1 through 3 is deadly. And you look at just the 2 through 3, right? Schwarber's home run percentage this year is like 8%. Harper's is like 5%. Meaning every single time Schwarber and Harper come up to the plate in the same inning, there is a 13% chance one of them is hitting a home run, which is crazy.
Dude, last night when they were tied 1-1 in the top of the 8th or bottom of the 8th or whatever, and they get a guy on base, and then they roll out Trey and Schwarber back to back. I'm like, I know we're winning this game. You know what I mean? Like, I just know, like, I feel so comfortable in that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it just really comes down to, I just like the Wheeler thing really just sets me back a little bit with the long view, but hopefully they figure it out. And I actually like the Walker Buehler signing because I just think it helps them in the long run. But yeah, Trey Turner is literally the best shortstop in baseball right now.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
Because what's-his-name's not having the exact year. Francisco Lindor obviously is a great player. Wrecked us in the playoffs. But we also, to wrap this up with baseball, and we'll get out of here, we can't bypass. I know you're always positive thinking, but I like to also hold the Philadelphia teams accountable. We can't be going to New York and getting swept. That's absolutely.
Oh no, I mean I agree with you 1,000%. I was disgusted after that series. It's still
we go in with a 7-game lead in the series, and we kind of made the ground back, and we got Sunday Night Baseball about to kick off in a little bit. But you know we can't go in with a 7-game lead and crush that to 4 because we could have made that gap if we swept. That could have been a 6. game swing right there. We could have been up double digits.
Well, good news. The Mets lost again today. It's funny how bad they are against the NL East when it's not us.
They were down 5-0 to the Marlins, but I didn't end up seeing the final score. What
Yeah, they lost 5-1. So if the Phillies win today, which is going to be tough because to complete a 4-game sweep is never easy, but if the Phillies do win today, that will push the lead in the NLS right back to
And what
second.
is one thing I got to ask is what does Mark Vientos do before he plays the Phillies? Like, why does he specifically have to go off versus the Phillies every time? He had a home run in the series. I forget if he hit more than one home run, but I know the one home run that he hit was like his 13th of the year. He doesn't even hit home runs, but he just terrorizes the Phillies when he.
Yeah, I don't get it, dude.
Doesn't make sense.
I'm hoping we can avoid the Mets in the playoffs because although I feel good going into the playoffs, if we have to face the Mets, I'm going to be extremely worried that's going to be the end of the Phillies season. That's how bad we play against them.
Are you worried about them getting a bye too? Because they might catch the Brewers. That's the thing. Like, are you worried about?
I'm hoping the Cincinnati Reds go on some sort of miracle run to knock the Mets out of playoff contention.
You hope Austin Hayes goes Cal Raleigh for a little bit of the season, or Kyle Schwarber starts going off.
Did the Reds win today?
I'm not
They
sure.
did. Okay, so they're now 4 games out of that final wild card spot. It could happen. It can happen. I'm just hoping the Mets miss the playoffs altogether, so I don't even fucking worry about it.
All right, well, we're about to wrap it up. I got 2 fantasy drafts and the Notre Dame game coming up, and we got the Phillies game. So I got a busy night ahead of us, or ahead of me. I know you got some stuff going on as well. Half those things I just mentioned, you're tied with too. So, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning into episode 112 of the Paisan Sports podcast. Real quickly, I'll be doing the play-by-play first game this upcoming Friday. So, pretty excited for Delsea Regional High School. So you guys can check that out on my Facebook page. Delsea actually won their first game 35-0 versus Vineland, and their quarterback scored 2 rushing touchdowns and had 2 interceptions. So be on the lookout for them. This year, they'll probably be highly ranked and could put themselves into state title territory once again. Dante, we only talked about basketball one time. Before we get out of here, did you text your boy Quentin Grimes and hear anything about him signing a contract or anything? Or
he has still not been signed.
So tomorrow will be September. The Sixers actually usually like September 20th range. They start like the 3rd week of September. Or the 4th week of September. They like open training camp, and they still don't have a solution for Quentin Grimes. So yeah,
we'll see how that plays out.
Dante, if you're a smart guy, you wanted to hear it live, go to your bank account and deposit some money into one of your draft sports books and put some money on Notre Dame before they start off. Maybe parlay Notre Dame and the Phillies tonight, and you get some positive odds, and you can make some.
I don't feel comfortable enough with the idea of the Phillies completing a 4-game sweep to put money on them tonight.
Even over the Braves?
Even over the Braves. It's not easy against any team.
We haven't even gotten to the point where we re-mentioned the Braves. We talked about them coming back to life at some point, and they just we didn't even mention. Did we mention Austin Riley was out for the season? I think I brought it up a couple weeks ago, but pretty much when that happened, when Austin Riley went out for the season, I was like, yeah, they're cooked. So
they were already cooked.
They were already cooked, and also
they've been cooked for a while.
The 2 biggest things about the Braves before we get out of here, why they're cooked, is their starting pitching has been a little bit shaky. They lost Max Fried. And Spencer Strider hasn't been the exact same guy coming off the injury. But the 2 biggest things is Ozuna and Albies are just not the same players they used to be. Either of them are just not the same players that they used to be. Like when they had that crazy home run season a couple years ago, they're just not playing well at all. I think, how many home runs does Ozuna have? Like just 20? And he was good for like 40 a year. And he's just not playing anywhere near. He's been 227. I mean, he's just not the same guy that he used to be, that all-star
He needs to lay off the booze is what it is.
He's got 20 home runs and 62 RBIs and in 124 games played. The last 2 seasons combined, he almost had 80 home runs. He had 40 and 39. So he's cut that number in half. So, I mean, he's just not the same guy. And real quickly, Albies, if we can look at him, Ozzy, who was a really key part of their lineup, who's just a really solid switch hitting player that had crucial big-time hits. He was never really a power guy, but a couple years ago, he had 33 home runs, only has 13. and he's batting 236, and he was a 280 hitter a couple years ago. So he's one of those Bryson Stott level type guys that keeps like the glue when the big time players don't play well. And he was a former All-Star, but he's not playing well. So, and losing Austin Riley, when you have all those factors going in, Acuna banged up for most of the season, coming in and out, then it's not going to work. But yeah, so I feel good about the Phillies. We'll see how Walker Buehler gets acclimated into there, and we'll see if Walker Buehler, that's the narrative for the Phillies. We'll see if Walker Buehler actually gets a start within the time period of our next podcast. And Eagles-wise, we'll obviously have the first game to review versus the Cowboys. And, yeah, those are what we're looking out for. So Eagles-Cowboys Thursday night. We'll hop on the next podcast, talk about them. See if Walker Buehler for the Phillies makes his first start by the next time we do the podcast. And what's going on with Quentin Grimes? Where's Quentin Grimes? What's he doing? Someone get his location. And I guess another Sixers topic is Joel Embiid going to start training camp healthy. So that's what we'll be looking out for. But that'll wrap it up for episode 112 of the Paisan Sports podcast. We will see you guys next week.